Hot topic for content creators. This is where I pitch a hot topic to you guys, and then you guys turn around, if you feel so inclined, create your own content on said topic. Indie author folly. Indie author folly is where we discuss the business practices, marketing strategies, and public relations of the indie scene that have made us cringe. I like to use this hot topic not as a means of dunking on the competition, but as a learning experience that anyone within the scene can benefit from. So I ask that if you are contributing to this conversation, then please refrain from naming names and just focus on calling out the behaviors that you take issue with so that everyone has an equal chance to do better and nobody gets singled out in this regard. One thing I've noticed, especially on the internet, is that when individuals are painted into a corner or have their back against the wall, the odds of them altering their behavior is slim to none. More often than not, those individuals will end up doubling down on their behavior. And to take it a step further, it may even create unnecessary drama. So if you are someone who is constantly calling individuals out by name, then I, for one, question whether or not you actually care about that individual doing better. Or if you are really just a drama queen who's in search of a fucking problem. And all I have to say to that is be careful what you wish for. Now, tonight, I'd like to highlight a comment from Herman P. Hunter, the Lore Forge. That's his YouTube channel. He is an indie author whose work I've featured several times on the show before, and I even had the privilege of doing an interview during one of those shows. So let's see what Herman has to say on this hot topic. Now, this comment of his is coming from Indie Author Folly Part 10, in which I was talking about desperate self-published authors who specifically send booktubers an unsolicited copy of their novel in a blatant attempt to gain some easy, sleazy booktube publicity. So Herman writes, I kind of take issue with the term desperation. There are few places that will do promotion or reviews for no-name authors. Most authors don't have the money to spend on advertising. Most don't have the money to spend on editing. Without sufficient funds to strong-arm sales, how else are they to get their name out? Yes. How indeed. If only there was someone who was willing to share their precious time in an effort to shed some light upon what would otherwise be recognized as nothing more than obscurities, if at all, but not because they have some ulterior motive, such as building up a YouTube channel for the sake of generating themselves a profit and or accumulating free shit from strangers, but because they actually possess a genuine interest for the underground. Look, if you just so happen to come across such an individual, then please, by all means, let me know. Because to me, it seems as though authenticity has become something of a dying breed. But I digress. Herman goes on to say, and those small creators that do sometimes show up and offer some exposure, sometimes they dork you. In fact, with The Revenant and The Tomb, I had at least 3 different people offer to provide exposure through their channel, only to have that offer vanish like a fart in the wind. One eventually made good. The other 2, well, when I asked what happened, they essentially blew me off. So now those 2 are on a permanent excrement list. Is that figuratively speaking? Because that would actually be pretty friggin' hilarious if you're if you have an actual shit list. I would like to know. And I doubt I'm the only one who has had that sort of experience. One thing that I can say about that, though, I mean, there are tons of people who, I guess in the Booktube, AuthorTube sphere, that kind of write checks their asses can't cash. But, at the end of the day, really, what is this but a hobby, for a lot of people? So, for some people, I would say, you be very careful. I would kind of almost, in a way, kind of sympathize with those on the Booktube side and say, guys, like, be very careful when it comes to what you say you're willing to do and this and that, and have kind of like almost like a business mindset about it. I think both people should have kind of a business mindset about it at the end of the day. Like I'd say, like, I used to be pretty harsh about when it came to like authors who send out freebies to booktubers for that publicity. But like, hey, if it's between 2 consenting adults and you're reaching out to them ahead of time and it's like a genuine thing where it's like, this is a booktuber that you actually like respect, or, and have, maybe you've watched their content for a while and you know what they're about and you already have some sort of idea of whether or not they would be interested in your book. Yeah, I mean, I could see that, and you reaching out to them and, ahead of time and being like, hey, is this something that you'd be interested in? And then it's kind of like, it's right there in black and white as to like, what each side can kind of expect from one another. You know what I mean? As far as that goes. Which is why I always try to make it a habit, this is a business practice. I always try to make a habit of under promising and over delivering as far as that goes. If there's anything to be delivered when it comes to that sort of thing, because you never really know either too. Like, something could have came up in their personal life. Maybe they just weren't taking the YouTube thing seriously, or maybe they were just like a shill in sheep's clothing who was really just using the indie scene as a means to like, build their YouTube channel so that they can profit off of things like, super chats or paid memberships or whatever. And they couldn't care fucking less about, indie books or anything like that, because those channels do exist. I would argue that those channels certainly exist. People who will talk about, indie books and stuff like that, literally just for clout, specific indie books. Like, you'll see when there's content creators out there, like, the only time they'll ever talk about indie books is when it's an indie book that has notoriety surrounding it. It's never like, hey guys, check out this cool book that I myself discovered from the indie scene. No, it's like, hey guys, that book that's been that's been hot on Book Talk for a while? Yeah, I read that book, so you don't have to. And this is my review of that book. Those type of videos. Like, if that's all they ever do, I would definitely question their sincerity. So Herman says, should the author in question have done what they did? Oh, now he's talking about when I was commenting about the author who soliciting the free publicity. Should the author in question have done what they did? Probably not. Was it cringe-inducing? Sorta. But they had the cojones to take a chance. Yeah, but again, I'd say, even if you're going to like take a chance on a booktuber, I would say at the very least, like, because they ended up making a fool of themselves, at least in my eyes. They ended up making a fool of themselves because the booktuber, one thing I would say, if you're writing any email or letter to a content creator, then I would expect that content creator to read that email or letter publicly, as part of their content. In other words, don't make it like, try to make it kind of a sentimental thing unless you want to, but nothing that would like, you would want it to like kind of remain private, type of deal where it's just like, it's just meant to be like, in other words, don't go. The worst thing that you could do, one of the biggest follies, I think, is to confide in strangers on the internet. Do not confide in strangers that you meet online. Okay. And that goes for me too. Like, don't be sending me a bunch of your like personal stuff. Now, I will tell you right now that I do have a respect for people's privacy, and I do understand the value of being discreet when it comes to respecting people's privacy. And there is a certain value to being discreet because it builds up a certain trust. So if you see these, because it's sad, it's a sad state of affairs in this day and age. I got to kind of go off on tangent a little bit right now. It is a kind of a sad state of affairs, social affairs in this day and age on social media. When you see a lot of these content creators out here who without even thinking twice, they're willing to put each other on blast by revealing like direct messages. They don't even think twice about putting people on blast, revealing intimate direct message conversations that they've had with other people online. And I can't stand that shit. Like, when I see people doing that, even if they're putting somebody else on blast for the things that they've said in a conversation, just let it be known that if you are somebody who reveals direct messages, in other words, messages that were sent to you personally, and I kind of consider that to be for your eyes only type of messages. If I receive a direct message from someone, I assume that is somebody who is confiding in me to a certain degree, regardless if it's a really personal thing that they're sharing with me, or if it's just something kind of like inconsequential. You know what I mean? It's just like a everyday thing, like, oh, this is what I had for breakfast. You know what I mean? Not that I typically engage in those kind of conversations online, but I'm just saying, So I don't really, to be honest, I gotta just put it out there that like, I really don't think too highly of people who are capable of just revealing direct message conversations with the public, with their audiences online. Also, as if they have some kind of like personal relationship with their audience, when in all actuality, an audience is just a group of individuals who 9 times out of 10 are just strangers to you. Like, you don't know these people. And you also don't know why these people may be watching you as well. You would like to think the best of people's intentions, but it's not always the case when we're talking about the internet, right? You got to take things with a grain of salt, be smart about things, and be professional. That's the point really that I feel like I was trying to make with that whole thing. Let me wrap up his comment here. He says, for my part, and that's not to, and by the way, that's not to you specifically, Herman, but just these are things that I've kind of like, I've witnessed you know, since being involved in the indie scene and, you know, coming across various different groups and individuals who engage in this creative sphere on YouTube. He says, for my part, I've stopped watching and following big YouTube reviewers. All they really provide is the same basic content about the same static list of authors. I've stopped giving my time over to rage tubers, given that I'm spending all of my time promoting my works. I really don't have the time to waste on people who would never give me a second look. Yeah. And I would toss in the people who really their main concern is building their YouTube channel, you know, like, and anyways, instead, I'm focusing on interacting with potential readers and fans directly by engaging in chats, discords, conventions, and shows where I can promote and sell my books direct. I'm engaging with smaller people who do provide me exposure. That strategy is yielding far better results faster than chasing after well-known YouTube content creators, most of whom wouldn't give me the time of day. Yeah, and I'm sure there's probably multiple sides to that as well. In other words, like how, you know, maybe once their channel reaches a certain amount of views, clicks, and all that stuff, like it becomes more of like a, I don't know, a business to them or a career in that sense, where it's like maybe they've kind of like, for me, that's almost like, I almost dread that, to be honest. Because I've said way in the beginning, when I first started doing this thing, the whole reason why I do this show is for the engagement. Like, I want to connect with people who are proactively involved with the indie scene, you know, or at the very least, maybe try to encourage other people to become involved in the indie scene, because I am an indie author myself and being involved. And I also read indie books. So being somebody who is proactive in the scene, really just trying to encourage and inspire that sense of, dare I say, community. You know, I'm not doing this because my aim is to build my YouTube channel, you know, which to me, I've always felt was kind of a lame thing to say, you know, like back in the day, like I come from the old school days of YouTube where like there was no live streams. It was, you would create content. Usually it was just people like ordinary people who just want to talk about ideas, share ideas or things that they've done. Vlogging was a big deal. Video essays, not so much. It was more like talks, like just people turn on a camera and just kind of spill their guts about whatever it is that's on their mind. And then other people would do like a reaction video to their video and in response to whatever it was they were saying, you know, if not join the conversation in the comment section. So you would have this back and forth. You would have this kind of engagement among creators. It was literally YouTube, like, you know, you guys, like creators interacting with each other. You know, now YouTube has kind of taken on this more, what I would say, kind of a corporate feel to it, where like everyone is kind of these mini corporate heads. They become these like mini corporations where they kind of run their channels. That's kind of like how they run their channels, is like these mini corporations, where that is, at the end of the day, it's all about the numbers. What kind of numbers can they pull? And to me, I think that's a trap, because at some point, it's a trap in multiple ways. It's a trap because, for one, you're getting sucked into the algorithm game. Number one, you become a fool, a marionette, a little puppet that can be manipulated by the algorithm. Oh, I got to create this type of content because algorithm, right? Now, I'm going to create what I feel like creating. How about that? Okay, does it get views? Does it not get views? I don't give a fuck. At the end of the day, it's what I want to create, first and foremost. It's my interest first. I don't give a crap about validating some fucking algorithm. You can set the parameters. All you technocrats out there, you can set whatever parameters you want on your friggin' algorithms. Okay, I don't care if all my content gets lost in the void. For the handful of select individuals that do come across my content, I want them to say, he was a real one. He was one who actually did what he wanted to do. And he didn't do shit because he was trying to fucking impress anyone. He wasn't doing shit because he was trying to satisfy an algorithm and build a YouTube channel, you know? So he could basically just, in a veiled attempt to just gain profit through ad revenue or some bullshit like that, you know? And trust me, guys, you know, I say this, I come from experience. I've known plenty of people that have had those aspirations of building a YouTube channel and turning it into a career, you know, turning YouTube content creation into a career. And I'll tell you right now, the amount of money you earn from ad revenue and the amount of numbers you have to pull in order to actually make anything substantial from YouTube would make your friggin' head spin. All right. So I'm just saying, don't put on, like, I try to save you the hassle. Don't put that kind of unnecessary pressure on yourself to perform because you want to build a YouTube channel, because you're going to drive yourself crazy. I'll tell you that much. And then on top of that, God forbid you are actually successful at building a YouTube channel. Because you know what happens then? Well, now you are under the pressure of your audience to perform. And what did I say at the beginning of this when I started doing this thing? I am not beholden to you just as much as you guys are not beholden to me. Hey, you watch the videos, you watch the videos. You don't, you don't. It's literally no skin off my back. And when the time comes, when I feel as though this isn't fun anymore, I'm going to cut the cord and I'm not going to do it anymore. That simple. I won't have to, and I don't feel as though I will have to explain myself or anything like this or that. Why? Because I'm not asking you guys to open your wallet and become subscribers, paid subscriber memberships for my channel. Okay. In other words, I won't feel guilty about stopping, ceasing to make content because I'm not asking you guys for handouts. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm literally doing this because I am genuinely interested in what comes out of the underground scene. In other words, I am proactive in the scene. I'm not doing this for the means of generating it, as if I think that this is going to be an actual means of income in any sustainable sense.